Jude Banger, back to the dynamic duo. Just the two of us.
Hey, Grinda Sabadoo.
Yeah. No one's going to know what that means.
No, I know. I don't care. I'll know. You'll know. My little boy will know. And that's it. It's fine.
That's all that matters. He thought that was my name, wasn't it?
Yes. He was like, Is it Grinda Sabadoo, mummy? And that was it. Forever.
Yeah. Savant do, isn't it? I'm like, that's pretty close.
Sabadoo. He's like, oh, I read it wrong. Sorry. It was brilliant. It cracked me up. And then it just created a whole string of variations around a theme of savant do. Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yep, there's some of it that's kind of accurate. But what's been going down? Are you recovering from having a few guests on the trot?
Yeah, massively. I tell you, when we
amazing.
finished at half, it was awesome. It was unbelievable. But I tell you, when we finished at 12:30 that day, I was a bit like the next day. But it was amazing. Like every single one.
Oh yeah, for everybody who doesn't know.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, just because Sydney, Sarah's episode 59 with Sarah Mackay, she's in Sydney, so we ended up. I was trying to coordinate a time, so we ended up finishing recording by like midnight or half past midnight or something on a Wednesday night, like right in the middle of the week. And you've been up since 5:30 that day. Yeah,
5 o'clock, and by the end of it, I was just like, wow. And then you can't just go to sleep, can you? So I was quite wired afterwards. So I don't think I got to sleep until about 1:30. And then I had to be up at 6. So I was a bit like, oh my Lord,
how am I going to do this?
How am I going to survive? But you do. You know,
cocaine for breakfast. That's where you deal with it.
Have you ever seen the film ID? Are you a bit young for that? Did you ever see that? Really long time ago. Sorry.
You just patronize. Do you just patronize me? Have you seen that film ID?
No,
or maybe you're a bit young for that.
I don't mean like that. I'm showing
I've seen
age.
movies from the 70s, you know. Yeah.
No, it's about a policeman that gets involved with like a sort of like they're kind of a National Front and a bit sort of Nazi, and he just kind of goes off the rails. And there's a scene where he puts cocaine on his cornflakes. He basically like just gets totally into it, leaves the police force. So yeah, it's one of those mad films. As you do. It's kind of like early 90s, I think. And it just reminded me of that. Like at the end of the film, he's just like sprinkling coke on his cornflakes, eating it, and then going out doing National Front stuff. So yeah, that was that.
Yep. That sounds like so that's how you got through your day, right? Oh,
yeah. No, I did not do that. Although I did feel like I had been clubbing. It was just that feeling of being up all night and then and then waking up and having to go about your day and feeling a bit weird. So I felt a bit like that. So it reminded me of my clubbing days.
Yeah. Well, I felt that as well. I went to sleep about 2 o'clock because the same. I was pretty buzzed. Yeah. It's just when you're having a great conversation, you're just like.
Amazing.
Yeah, okay, I'm alive.
Yeah.
Might as well be 7 a.m.
You had a nap, quite a long nap in the middle of the day, like a baby.
I was like, well, I'm getting ready for this.
No wonder you couldn't sleep. Don't be in the day.
That definitely wasn't it. I could fall asleep anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter if I've just fell asleep for 10 hours. I can go back to sleep. But that's just my thing. It's just I'm gonna put that down. If I ever have to apply for a job again and I've got a CV, I'm like, what's your skills? I can sleep anytime, anywhere. Just tell me, and I'll go to sleep.
That's so funny because as a mother, that goes. Like I used to be able to do that, but when you become a mother, that ability to fall asleep, you don't have that anymore. You literally wake up. If there's a fly outside your window, you'll wake up. It's just anything will wake you up. So any tiny little noise, because you're wired in to kind of make sure that your kid's okay. Even though my kid's 11 now, you're still wired in to be all right. Yeah,
which is happening, of course. Yeah, it's like years of that. So it's just gonna be that way, right? Yeah. I'm prepped.
Prepare yourself. No, you're not. You're not even a little bit prepped.
You could never be fully prepped. It's like,
No,
all
you
right,
can't.
I get it. I'm never going to sleep, and my life is all about the little kid.
Yeah,
But you will never actually know until you actually experience it, right?
exactly.
So,
You have
yeah.
no
So,
idea how you're going to be, and all your sleep might have prepared you beautifully. So there you go.
yeah. Yeah. I'll,
If only if it was like, if only sleep was accumulative. Do you know what I mean? I would have bottled that shit so that I could have it now, you know?
I think lots
Yeah.
of people feel that way.
I'm
Yeah,
all right. I'm
exactly.
good. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Damn.
That would be amazing, actually. I don't know why I've never thought of that before.
What,
But yeah,
bottling
that would be
sleep?
amazing. Yeah, if you could. If you could do that. Because then, yeah, for those like first 3 years of having a kid, especially, you could
3
just.
years? Lol.
I mean, when they're keeping you up at night, that period, that's what I'm saying.
3
But
years. Okay.
really? Why would it be more?
My kid kept me up forever. I mean, he was a 4 to 5 a.m. start until he was about 9.
Oh, right, that's okay.
That's
As in, he still
okay.
slept through. He still slept through the night, right?
No, not
Oh, really?
really. Yeah, he'd
Oh, wow.
wake up. Yeah. It's just
Okay,
one of
interesting.
them.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, now that I know that, I'll keep that in mind. That it
Yeah.
could be at least 5 years, or maybe 9, actually. So
No, I think I had a unique sleeping child, I have to
yeah,
say. But, yeah,
and
if only I could bottle sleep, I'd have that now.
well, you're gonna be doing something pretty mad pretty soon.
I am.
What's
Dun, dun,
happening? What's happening?
dun.
My eyes are getting
So,
wide.
your eyes, my eyes.
Yeah.
So I, if you've been listening to the podcast, you will know that I've been training and upping my resistance training and lifting quite heavy weights, which is super beneficial for anyone of any age. But I was speaking to my friend that trains me the other day, and I was like, I feel like I need a goal. I just feel like I need to have something to work towards. I like to challenge myself. I like to push my body. So I was like, what do you think about me prepping for a photo shoot? And the photo shoot is like a fitness photo shoot where you basically train and lift really heavy and you start off with quite a calorific intake, but then you start to, for the last 3 months, taper your calorific intake down. So you taper your calories down to quite minimal amounts, and then you start to shred, as they say, for the last 3 months. It's almost like she explained it to me the other day, because it's all quite confusing in my head, and you're going to have to help me, G, try and figure it out. But you lift heavy like for 2-3 months, and you eat more, and it's more carby. It's still very healthy, and you eat kind of 4 or 5 times a day, and you're having protein shakes and things like that. But then after, or when you get towards the photo shoot, the last 3.5 months, you minimize your food, and it really is like low carb, and you lift less heavy and you start shredding, so that when you get to the photo shoot, and this is where I'm unclear, because I think you then have to add some carbs in, you pop, so that it's like this photo shoot isn't like a glamour photo shoot or anything like that. It's basically a fitness photo shoot where your muscles are defined, and I just want some really nice black and white photos, just so I can look back and go, you did that, and you did look okay, and do you know what I mean? And look at all the hard work you did, and I feel like my training at the moment has brought my body really quickly into a shape that I've never really seen it in before. So it's getting really, really defined, and I'm kind of finding it a really fascinating journey, because it's very, very basic those compound exercises like bicep curls, shoulder presses, squats, wide squats, lunges. It's really basic. It's like, it's not this functional, flowy movement that I've been used to, but my God, it does the job. It's like, I think I had to leg press 150 kilos the other day, and I don't know what that means to anyone else, but to me, I'm like, that feels like a lot of weight to me, for my frame.
It's like
and
3 times your body weight, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe just slightly less. But, and, I'm lifting and squatting quite heavy weights. I'm lifting and pushing, and it is that push, pull, deadlift, squat. So it's functional movement, but it's very basic, functional compound movement. I think that's the right word. And I love it. And I've seen a change in my body, even though I'm the age I am, really quickly. I think I don't think it's been 3 months. I think it's been 2 months that I've been training like this. And already, and this is what I can't wrap my head around. I find it really bizarre, but even though I'm eating a bit more, I look littler. And I'm just like, I don't understand that. And I'm starting to get this team around me. I've got my mate who trains me, and then I've got this really amazing bodybuilding guy who's done so many shows, and he's been doing it forever, and he trains loads of people, and he gets people ready for bikini competition shows, which I'm absolutely not going to do. And his WhatsApp picture is just, he's like hench Hulk, like,
yeah.
And he did me a nutrition plan, and it's like, and he asked me all these really interesting questions, and it was all quite scientific. And at the end, he was like, and you're going to need to supplement it with like probiotics and this and that and the other. But the plan, oh my God, for 3 months, it's basically 1,200 calories a day, very little carbs. It's all been like shared out. It's like, can I do that? Am I up to that challenge? Do you know what I mean? Because that's the thing. It's the nutrition. Yes, it's lifting weights. Yes, but it's not even running. He's like, no running. Just get 10,000 steps in, do some walking. You might want to do a hit so that you're not constantly walking. But lift. You've got to lift about 4 times a week and lift heavy. But when you start to taper down, you're not lifting as heavy because you're not going to be able to on 1,200 calories. And that's when you're going to start to cut and pop. And then I don't know what happens at the end. I think you then have to have a little bit of carb to then pop for the actual shoot. I haven't even booked a photographer, but I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, this is gonna be mad. This is gonna be amazing.
I know.
It's, my dream of seeing Jude fill out the screen is gonna come true.
But I don't think I'm gonna fill. I just think it's gonna be it'll be more defined. So.
No, you're not gonna get swole like that. So I'll still have to hold off on that.
Yeah. But, I'm not going to be that.
How long did you say the process is going to be?
So I'm training now. I think the process, so I've already started, but the actual process is about 14 weeks, being on that plan, upping my training to maybe 3 to 4 resistance sessions a week. So 2 legs, 2 arms, and incorporating, you cut it down or you get specific. So one day you'll train quads and hamstrings, the other day you train glutes, and do you know what I mean? It's like you specify within those training sessions, but 2 arms, 2 legs. And it might sound ridiculous, do you know what I mean? To some people, it's like, why are you doing that? But it's like, I wanted to fight train. I was prepared to have like a fight, a Thai boxing fight at this age. And now I'm like stepping into a ring as a mother, as someone in their 40s, it's like, maybe that's not such a good idea. And I actually don't have the energy for that. But this feels different. This feels more accessible and more attainable, but it's still a challenge. It's still pushing my body to where I'm possibly not comfortable going. It's looking at my nutrition in huge detail and seeing if I can actually do it. Have I got the willpower to not stuff my face with 12s? Do you know what I mean? Fucking love a 12. Oh my God.
That's your temptation.
All chocolate is my temptation, and coffee, because I can't have any coffee or milk or anything. So
you could have it. No, all right. Not black.
Well, I can have coffee. Yeah, I could have coffee, black coffee, but I'd be like, so yeah. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be intense, but let's do it. Let's try.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. You're definitely going to be taking places where you haven't been before. Is like I haven't done a transformation like that. Okay. But it's funny when you mentioned it right before we started recording podcasts, because I was like, what? You want to do this? Because I've been thinking about it for like 2-3 months.
Have you?
Yeah, it's like I feel like I want to do the same thing as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been weighing it up, and I've been trying to just figure out like when would be the
How?
right time to do it. Not so much how is like
Okay.
it'll just be a case of hire the right coach to help me through that, and just see through the whole plan. But yeah, because that'd be fun. That would be, I say fun. It'll
Yeah.
be extremely challenging, but that's what the fun is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so what I know of the process, and just like hearing people talk about it, doing it, and people who have gone through it, especially when you're going to be approaching the end, it's gonna be tough. It's just gonna be
Yeah.
tough because like you're
I
still
know.
training, but you're trying to cut calories, and so you're gonna feel depleted, but it's just what you do for that phase. But then after it is just having some realistic expectations of what you're going to maintain from this journey.
That's really important to me. I don't just want to suddenly like and eat all the cake. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to take something away. But also I'm like, are there any health implications for doing this? Because women that train for bikini competitions and things like that, their periods can stop. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to go into that health depletion. I want it to be a healthy process. So if you have any advice for that, I don't know if you have any experience around that, but I don't want it to get unhealthy, and I don't want to end up destroying my body because of it and making it worse after. I want to be able to, like you say, maintain what I've achieved. I don't want it to ruin anything hormonally. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll know when you're entering that phase as well, because you'll have a telltale sign, i.e. you stop having a period, or it's something like that. So it can, and I think for the duration that you're doing it as well, you're probably going to be, I don't know, you might be okay, but this is where somebody who's been there, done that, but also is a lot more educated in that process and how it affects your energy levels, your hormones, your physiology. But essentially, when you do something as intense as you're doing, because it's not unless you decide to live like that, it's not something that you're going to be able to sustain for forever. So when you come out of it, it's just being realistic about what the result that you've got. Okay, how much of it am I going to be able to maintain? Because you want to be able to live your life, unless you decide that this is actually a better way to live life. So yeah, that's
not though, is it?
Yeah,
1,200 calories is not way to live life, though, is it? You can't sustain 1,200 calories a day. That's crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, again, just like, it depends on your size, your frame, and your activity levels and stuff. So, but yeah, sustaining 1,200 calories will be very, very difficult. But but that's just that's just something about it. But yeah, the whole process is amazing, because you get yourself taken to places where you can't imagine you've been before, or can't imagine taking yourself even, and the challenge that it presents for your body, but mentally as well, because of like the way you got to be on point with everything that you're doing, and and then the goal, and what the goal actually means as well. It's and it's a great way to start yourself off on something that I'd say it's a great way to like kind of get yourself in the zone of just maintaining something. As I'm not saying that very well, is when you're doing something like that as well, you know how intense you can go, you know how far you can push yourself, and then being able to maintain it isn't as difficult as if you kind of didn't go there before, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
So being able to maintain that level of some level of activity in your life, where you're staying strong, you're staying lean, you're staying fit, you're staying healthy, you're staying in the shape that you want to be in, it's easier because you've got so much more in the tank. You can take things a lot further than you have done before. So that's where it's cool as well. So when you come out of that as well, you're going to be like, okay, I don't have to take things to this extreme, but I know that if I train like this and I eat this and I do this, I'm going to be in great shape. It's going to keep me strong. It's going to keep me healthy. It's going to allow me to do everything I want to do. It's going to make me feel good in my life right now, and also for the future.
Yeah. And what I'm getting from it already is it's organization. It's like when you think about your nutrition, as I have to, and I do look at my calories. I know roughly my calories per day. I know if I go over. I know how it feels in my body when I go over. So it is organization. It is prepping. Like, you are officially on prep, and on prep means that you are prepping your food the whole time. You know exactly what you're going to eat in a day. And to some that might sound really boring, but actually it's quite nice, because you know what's coming. You're not looking in the fridge and going, what am I going to eat for, you know, it's there. So it's that level of organization. You know how it's going to work within your week. And actually for me, not running 3 times a week, which I used to find exhausting, and walking it feels just more attainable. And actually lifting heavy, as long as my joints and the stress on my joints are okay, and it's okay on my back, I really enjoy it. It's quite a powerful thing to be able to lift quite a lot of weight. And I genuinely didn't realize that, I'm actually fairly strong. I had no idea. And I actually feel like lifting heavier weights is benefiting my Pilates in a way. Pilates benefits it in different ways, but I feel just more controlled, more stable within my joints, more just more able to do the stuff that I have to do. Like, I have to teach a lot of Pilates each week, so it benefits it in that way as well. But what I'm getting from it at the moment is just organization is everything. Planning is everything. Knowing day to day what you're doing and what your workout's going to be is everything. So
yeah, completely. And it'll cross over when you train well. That strength that you gain is going to cross over into everything else as well. There's kind of like there's no downside if to the extent that you do this well and you're able to maintain it well.
Yeah.
Because like you said, that feeling, that power that you get, the confidence that you get from that,
and
just knowing that you can be strong and have that kind of use of your body, it's another level. And just that security as well. And when you're doing it well, it won't screw up your back and it won't screw up your joints. It's like when people overdo it and overload too much volume for too long, that kind of thing. But it sounds like the kind of people you have around you are going to be monitoring that pretty closely and making sure that there's going to be proper training load, training volume throughout the whole program, tapering it down when you need to, building it up when you need to. Yeah, so just follow the plan basically, and you'll smash it.
So that's the challenge for this year. The one thing I do find hard is deadlifting. My back, just with the spondylolisthesis, the vertebral shift is it just doesn't like it. My body doesn't understand deadlifts because I cannot keep my spine the way it needs to be to then angle my legs down and back up. And that's one thing that I cannot wrap my head around. I cannot get it. It's like, do you feel your hamstrings? No. Where do you feel it? In my back. It's just, it will not do that movement. Any advice would be great.
Well, have you tried it from different levels? So a different base, not picking up off the ground, trying a different.
Yeah.
Even starting in a rack upright and then actually going down and then coming back up.
Yeah. It's the postural positioning more than anything else, more than the starting position, anything else. It's purely the movement of going down, trying to keep your back the same as you're lowering down, hinging down and coming back up. It's just, that is the weak spot, isn't it? That is for me, that hinge and coming back up, that and where my back is weak, that's the point, isn't it? That center of mass, and that's what the deadlift is. It's moving around your center of mass, isn't it? And that's the one that I find really hard. That is the one where my trainer is like, you need to push your back out more, or you need to sit your bum out, and I'm like, it just won't do it. So it's really interesting. It's throwing up stuff like, what can I do around that to make my deadlifting better so that I can lift heavier weights, because it is a hamstring exercise. So I think it's going back to things like
full body exercise.
Yeah, it is, because your arms are involved. Everything's got to stabilize, hasn't it? But so I'm like, okay, so I need to go back to a bit of prone breathing, so lying on my front and breathing and working into my back and getting all those muscles to move and function well. I need to maybe isolate the muscles in my back, the really tiny little stability muscles, and get them to move. So an exercise that you and I know called cat camel. And it's all the intra-abdominal pressure and breathing exercises that we know. That's then gonna help me to deadlift more and hopefully lift more weight. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's showing up weaknesses, but it's also getting rid of other weaknesses for me. So
yeah,
it's a really interesting journey, I have to say. Yeah. It's exciting, but I'm excited for you. You're going to do it. Are you finding a trainer around your area? Are you going to be going back to a gym and lifting from there?
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm just going to see what I can do. With who is the important part. So I just want to be able to trust that person, and I just want to be able to say, okay, whatever you say goes, because I'm ready to just relinquish that kind of control and be like, hey, you know about this, so
do you know what? It's great though. It's great having a trainer, because you don't have to think. It's like, oh, this is why people come to me, because it is that, you're just in someone's hands. It's just like, to hold my hand, walk me around the gym, tell me to do it, and I'll do it. It's great because when you're doing it on your own, there's like almost like a dual process. You've got to be like, right, cognitively, what am I going to do now? And then you've got to actually physically do it. So when someone's got that cognitive part for you, you're just there lifting, and it takes some of the strain away, not the strain, but it takes some of the pressure away of what am I going to do now? Oh, I might do a shoulder press. What am I going to do now? I might go over there. Do you know? And that would be me. So get a trainer. Oh my God, yeah. Get a trainer.
Yeah, get that direction as well. And then, what did you say? There was something, with the deadlifting as well. Have you tried trap bar deadlifting?
What's that?
So it's a bar. It's like a hexagon. You stand inside it, and then you do the deadlift.
Oh no, I haven't got one of those. No.
Okay,
right. I haven't got one of them.
Okay, because the reason that could potentially work out better is when you're doing a regular deadlift, the bar is slightly in front of you, so your center of mass is over your vertebrae basically. But when you've got a trap bar, you're holding the bar besides your legs essentially at a hip level, so your center of mass is more in your hips, and that can help people to offset any load that goes.
We don't have one of those. Okay. Maybe they would at the the guy that's doing my nutrition plan, maybe there'd be one at his gym, because it's a lifted gym, so I would have thought they'd have that kind of stuff. It's finding the right equipment as well, isn't it? So I need to find a gym that isn't redonkulously expensive and has all the equipment that I need. Sometimes I train at a gym that I used to work at, weirdly. It's not weird, but their fees are like 160 quid a month. That's insane. Nice. That's loads. Like, wow.
You're paying rent.
It's Bromley. Yeah, right. Yeah. Bromley, what are you doing? It's not gym box in London. God.
Just live there. It's like, go there every day. And I just use the facilities just because.
Yeah, here again. Yeah. Getting my money's worth. Yeah, crazy money.
So you could try that. Otherwise, there's other ways of training the specific body parts you're looking for without having to strain your back as well, because it gets a lot more specific with that kind of training program as well. So
massive.
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be jokes, man. That's so wicked.
So where are we
in the last 3 months. In the last 3 months, it's just like, I've started lifting weights. He's like, oh my God, I'm enjoying it so much. I'm going to do a photo shoot. I'm like, what? Where'd that come from?
That's me though, isn't it? It's like, I need a challenge. I need to make this harder for myself. How can I make it harder? not just content with lifting weights and like, looking all right. I need to challenge and push myself and push the envelope. And it's like, yeah. But as my mate said, she's like, it's good to have a goal. She's going to be on prep as well. She's prepping for a competition. So we're both going to be hideously moody at the same time, which will be hilarious. But I think I just really like training for a purpose sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there's something in that of pushing yourself, pushing that boundary, and seeing what you're capable of, seeing not how far you can take it, but can you do it? Are you up for this challenge? Let's see.
Yeah. But yeah, then there's also virtue in seeing how far you can take it as well. Because like training with a purpose, because ultimately is like, you will struggle to just train just for the sake of training, right? So even people who look like, they're like, they could be trainers and they just like, you see them training 5-6 times a week and you're like, all right, these people are clearly, they just do it. But it's not just a case of just doing it. It's like they've internalized that purpose as well. It's like, for me, it's like I need to move regularly because I just want to feel good. And I want to feel good like when I'm 80 as well. It's not just for now, it's just for later on. So then it's and then stuff like what you're talking about is like, I want to see how far I can take things as well. And then having that specific goal, when you're attuned to that, you're able to achieve so much more. You just realize how much, like you said, organization, how much planning, and how much having that goal actually changes you, and how much it pulls you further forward than you could ever go if you didn't have that of itself. So there's plenty of value to having that purpose and then having that end goal with it as well.
Absolutely. I think it's the performer in me as well. It's like, I think sometimes of late I've been discussing being a performer like with lots of people and obviously on the podcast, and I feel like sometimes that's been missing from my life. Like I've always, for so many years of my life, it's like there was always something that I was practicing and preparing for, and I think that's very much within me. That's very much part of me to it doesn't even need to be a performance, but I see lots of things. Like I see the podcast as a performance. I see, teaching lots of people on Zoom a performance, and I like preparing for a performance. So this is my way, I suppose, of having that integral part of me come out. I suppose it's like, it's just another way of performing, isn't it? It's a goal that I'm working towards, and you have to practice and you have to work towards it and you have to think about it. So I think that's always going to be part of me, and it just comes out in different ways.
Yeah. Just take a picture with a clarinet while you're there as well. Fitness picture with your clarinet as well. Why not?
No. But by the piano.
You're like, this is highly inappropriate. It's like, this is a fitness shoot.
It's a bit weird.
Yeah. But that's it. It's just, if that's like, if that's the part of your personality where, you use it to attain greater heights, then, use it, right? It's like,
use it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, and you enjoy it. You enjoy that part of yourself, and it's not like there's any drawbacks to it. So hell yeah, just go for it and use that. And especially if it's if it hasn't been like let loose, unleashed for a little while as well. So that's an even better reason. Yeah, I find like, because if that's the way that you approach it, and you feel like if something is like you approach it as if it's a performance, then you'll probably experience that flow state more easily than if you didn't approach it like that, right? And that flow state is imperative to improved performance, just getting a lot more out of it as well, enjoyment of the journey, all those different things. So that's cool. So I think that's really cool as well, because what I think take from that is just framing a pursuit in a way which allows you to make the most of it. Because a lot of the times we can have a goal, we can have a pursuit, and we can just say, I need to be able to do this. I must do this. I have to do this. and you're going about the journey and you're trying to achieve this goal, but it feels like you're constantly like getting resistance while you're doing that, and you're hating the process, and you just can't wait for it to be over so that you can get to that goal. But then realizing that, okay, in your case it'll be 14 weeks, for somebody else it could be 6 months, it could be a couple of years, whatever it might be.
Sure.
You realize you spent 2 years hating the place that you really want to get to, and when you get there, it's like all the hope was put into that moment being amazing, and maybe it won't be, because of that disconnect between like the so-called reward prediction error, where it's like, this is going to be amazing, and then you get there, like, oh, it's not as amazing as I thought it was, to achieve this thing. So using and harnessing parts of your personality which allow you to enjoy that process, enjoy that journey. It's like, could you imagine if you were doing it and you're like, oh, I've got to do this because my doctor told me to, It's like you've got to go through this plan because you need to get in a certain kind of shape, and then you're going ahead and doing it, and you're like, okay, cool, this is good for my health, that's the only way that you looked at it. Or is rather, it's like, it's going to be great for me because for this and this reason. It's like, cool, that all might be true, but you potentially hate every moment of the journey. Whereas if you flip it and you're like, it's going to be great for me for this and this reason, I'm going to bring out this part of me to tackle this whole journey, and because when I use this part of me, this is when I'm enjoying it, this is when I'm at my best, this is how I find flow. Then you've had a great time doing it, even though it's challenging, even though it's going to be difficult. There's going to be periods where it feels up and down. So yeah, there's a lot of value to what you just said there as well, which is use that part of yourself which is going to allow you to excel and enjoy
definitely that. I think that I think I enjoy it anyway, for sure. What I do, I think if I was training for a fight, we'd be having a very different conversation, and there'd be a lot of angst and worry and panic, and I don't want to be knocked out. I think it'd be a very, very different conversation. And that's what I mean by this is more accessible. But something that, as you were talking, that got me thinking about is like, okay, say your doctor has told you for whatever reason, and I could potentially give my dad as an example, like he had a heart attack a couple of years ago and everyone's on him to eat better. But what's really hard about that, I think, especially when you're older and you have patterns and you have habits and you have nutritional ways of eating, or certain ways of eating and nutritional things, it's good for your health, it's detrimental to your health to eat a certain way. But how do you change that and flip that script in your head, even though you know that potentially this is dangerous and it's this could end badly? I think it's very hard for people to change that in particular. I know my dad really struggles with it. So what would you say to someone? Their doctor said, right, you need to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And they're like, and there's resistance to it. I don't want to do this. I'm not interested. I want to eat all the cake. It's like, how would we as trainers approach that? Because that's, I find it quite challenging with family, but tell me what you think.
I never try and convince anyone.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm just like, all right, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it.
It has to come from them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It has to come from them being ready to change.
Yeah, so everybody in the world could be telling them that they've got to change, and they could be getting the worst kind of information, i.e. a doctor saying you're going to die in a few years, you're not going to be able to see your grandkids or your kids grow up if you don't change your habits. But if it's not having an effect on them, it's like, cool, I'm not going to try and change it, and I'm not going to, that's your call. And got to a stage now where I've got to a stage also where it doesn't maybe in the past, I reckon I would have judged that, but like, how can you not want to change when you've got all this that you could potentially gain from it? But now I'm just like a lot more kind of philosophical about it. It's like, it's entirely up to the individual. They've decided that they don't want to do this. If they need assistance with it, great. I'm there for them. I'm here to help them. But if the pain isn't strong enough for them to want to change, then it's not my place to say anything about that or do anything about that. Even if it's like really, really close family, even if it's people who I know are like, okay, there's a lot of things you could be doing here that you could be doing better. If they're not interested in hearing it, then you're just falling on deaf ears, right? It doesn't make any sense to keep pursuing it. There is like if somebody's kind of like reached out, so because there'll be a little bit of a difference here as well. Somebody's actually reached out and is like, I've been told I need to make some changes. So what that's suggesting to me is like, okay, there's somebody who's ready, or rather, there's a part of them that wants to change, but there's maybe 10% of them is ready to change, because that 10% of them is the part of the person that's reaching out and being like, I need to change something. But the rest of them is not interested, doesn't have a clue, is too afraid to make a difference. Then that's when building that rapport and building that trust with them is going to be crucial to help them come around and see that, hey, there's a part of you that wants to change because you recognize that there's a problem. Let's investigate that further, and let's bring out what is genuinely important to you to do. And if that really does marry up with your willingness to change, definitely more than your want to stay where you are, then we can do something about that. So there's very much a case of like never trying to convince anyone, but if there's a modicum of a willingness to change shown, then it's kind of like, okay, let's explore that and let's see how much it actually means for you to make a difference. That's how I go about it. What do you think?
Because then it's empowering, isn't it? I think also there's a lot in that, because if you're, just say it is someone close, family, whatever, if you're trying to change and you're constantly on them and you're harassing them, that's almost going to have that negative effect. It's going to have a counterproductive effect, right? So it's almost like you need to be there but not be on them. It's a very difficult process. It's like I almost think of it like when I deal with my son, it's like you want to be there and you don't want to be too hovering, hands on, but you almost need to step back and let them get on with it, but then be there just in case they need that help or they need that support. Because nagging does not work. Nagging someone, put down that cake, don't do that. No, it's not going to work. But I don't know, being being there, on tap to maybe give advice when they need it. I don't know. It's a very difficult thing. And maybe not the best example to use when it's close family, but it's like, it has to come from you. It has to be something that you want to do. And I think it's very difficult to change, even when someone's saying there's a health risk, it is difficult to change. And I think for us as trainers, it's maybe a little bit easier in the health and fitness realm to change because we've been doing it forever. And I don't know, I find that it's like, oh yeah, this could be completely fine. But like, talk to me in 2 months when I'm in it and I'm in prep full and I'm going to be like, I feel like shit. And this is really hard and I've got to teach and I've got to do all this stuff. So that's what, like, when I'm in it, we'll talk again and let's see how I'm doing. And have I got it in me to finish what I started? Because when that date's booked and I've got that photographer and everything's booked, because, it's not just a photographer, you've got to like prep clothes and makeup or whatever. And there is an end date in sight, like we'll talk again. And it's like, am I actually on track to do this, or is this going to look shit? So
just stay the course.
I will, I will do it. So I think having a team around you, as I know from many experiences in the last couple of years, like having an army around you of people that are supporting you and telling you, helping you and supporting you and being there for you is so important. When you're doing something that's challenging, or you're pushing past a boundary that you're pushing past a comfort zone, you need an army around you. When you're going through difficulty, you need an army around you. So I've got my team around me, and watch this space.
Yeah, you get some regular updates.
Yeah, man.
Exclusive updates for the podcast. It's going to be amazing.
Because I'm not even going to do it. Well, I think, and that's another thing, like for the guy who's in my nutrition, he's like, right, you need to send me like a 360 degree of you in like just, bikini. And, you're like, I don't want to do that. But you've got to do that before and after, and it's all just stuff so out of my comfort zone that I'm like, okay, all right, I will. But yeah, it's all new. It's all good.
Yeah. Challenges.
Yeah, man.
It's good. You get 14 weeks time, you're going to be like, I'm going to take over the world. Give me the next thing to do. This is going to be wild. I've done something.
I'll be like that.
Yeah, I mean, let you recover a little bit. And then, yeah, we'll let you recover a little bit. And then you'll be like, all right, what's next?
Now what?
Can't believe I just did that. That was amazing. I can do whatever I want. I can do anything. It's going to feel amazing.
Yeah, 1st of December. I think I'm going to book it for the 1st of December. So after that, we'll talk, and we'll see. So I'll be ripped for Christmas or not.
Perfect timing. And then Boxing Day, it's gonna be over.
It's gonna be gone. But the thing is, like, when you train for something like that, and when you eat a certain way, which I do anyway, and we've talked about this before, but when you overeat, and we've talked about this, like when you eat too many calories, you feel awful. I mean, when you've caned it, and you just feel shockingly bad. So there's almost like that. I feel like I'm setting myself up for some really good few years of quality nutrition and not being lazy with my nutrition. Yeah. As in,
that's what you think this period's going to be able to help with?
Yeah, I feel like I've been prepping this for over this last year, like 2021. I've been like looking at my calories, looking at my nutrition, and actually gaining understanding of how many calories I put in my body a day, and how it feels to go over that. And I'm starting to get a hold on, this is what 1900 calories feels like. This is what 2,500 calories feels like. This is what 4,000 calories feel like. It doesn't feel good. Do you know what I mean? So
4,000 doesn't feel good for me. How the hell are you doing that?
I don't know. I think I did go for it once, and I was like, this does not feel good. I can't do that. I think it was like a little while ago, but I think 3,000 calories is like my limit. 4,000 is like beyond the limit and away. Yeah, it was I don't even know what I was eating. But for me, 1,900 sounds really sad and anal. That's a good amount for me. That's where I'm happiest, right?
Really?
I'm sure you. Yeah. Why is that a lot?
It seems a lot. Yeah.
What,
well, it just
1,900?
depends. Yeah, just.
You think I should have less?
For your size, no, it just depends. Listen to whoever your nutritionist is. They'll tell you what to eat.
I mean, I'm obviously I've got to cut down to 1,200, but my trainer was a bit like, no, you should be eating more than 2,000, and I'm like, I cannot do that. But yeah, 1,800 feels a little bit low for me. 1,800, but between 18 and 19, I reckon.
Okay, interesting. All right, yeah. That's fine.
Don't forget, I move a lot in my day, though. It's like I don't stop. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. Is like, the amount of training that you started doing with the strength training a few months ago, and then and just like getting that regular movement in every day with the teaching and stuff. Then it makes sense. If you weren't doing that training, I'll be like, you're getting chubs. It's like it's a one-way ticket.
How many calories a day do you have?
Me, actually, I feel pretty decent. I say feel pretty decent. I can maintain on like 2,200.
Oh shit! So actually, I'm quite high. Oh,
potentially, but then again, this is what I mean. Is like for me, is if I was going to strength train like you're going to train, and have that kind of program in place as well, that would be different. That'd be a different number. If I was training more, if I was doing more jits as well, that number would probably be 2,600 easily. But yeah, I need to do a reevaluation as well, to be honest, because that number I was using as a maintenance number from a while back, and it's just because like I know routinely what works for me, but that needs to be reevaluated as well. So yeah, I'll have a look into that again, to be honest.
Okay, I feel like it'd be a boring conversation if I then asked you how do I work it out, but that's maybe something that you and I can discuss another time. But I'm like, how many calories should I be eating then? Because if that's too high, that's not cool. But yeah.
No, but like again, because you got your trainers, just listen to what they're saying as well. Because if you're saying it's as scientific as it is, they're going to be able to plug your activity levels, your size, your lean body mass, all into a calculator to work out how many calories you should be having given the level of activity you're undertaking and how much you move on a course of a day, and your lean body mass and all that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I will. Great.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Cool.
Nothing there. Just listen to your coaches. That's all I ever say. Because
I know. That's all you can do. Now in my head I'm like, oh, I've been eating too much. Shit. But I don't think I have, because I think any less, and I'd be like, I think I'd be too hungry when I start to taper off. I think I'm starting to taper down anyway. So yeah, we're cool. It's okay.
Yeah. But also, I mean, you're training on that number, and you're feeling good. You're getting stronger. That's that's a good place to be.
Yeah, man, I'm getting stronger.
Getting dench, Judy Dench.
Is that actually her name?
That is.
What's her name? That is her name. That's brilliant. Judy Dench.
Well, dench didn't mean that until somebody decided that dench meant stacked, right? So, so it just ended up being, a phrase. So that's why it fits. Or December 1st, that is you. That is 100% you. That's you're
Judy Dench.
That's gonna be your name at least for that one day.
What, the photo shoot? All right, I'll take a picture.
Yeah.
Oh man, so nuts.
Well,
go on.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like stuff that you're talking about there is just basically overall like strength training and the value of it for any individual, regardless of the age that you're at. Challenging yourself and setting that and setting yourself up for success by tapping into this type of personality, your part of your personality, which will enjoy the process as best as possible, and then and then just having like that purpose, that goal for it, and then that stuff about how to deal with people who need to make a change but don't want to make a change. That's that is an important conversation as well, because I'm going to go back to that a little bit as well, because there'll be plenty of people who get frustrated with people in their lives for the simple fact that they know that they've got to change. That person knows that they've got to change, but they're not taking any steps. Anytime you try and bring it up, it is met defensively, and that whole nagging thing that you're mentioning as well is easy for somebody to feel like they're being guilted or being shamed when it's like that, and that's never it's never sustainable emotions to be experiencing and feeling like you need to change from that place. It can be the spark, but then if you feel like ashamed of like this situation that you find yourself in, but then for it to be something that is going to be a positive influence in your life, or a positive journey in your life, then it's got to actually come from a place of compassion and self appreciation. Because if you don't do those things, if it doesn't come from those places, then you're kind of punishing yourself to be in a better place. So it's just never going to work. So so in that regard, it's like not even kind of, it's a difficult thing to do because you're so attached to people, but it's just letting it go. Is like, just leave it. Don't even try and bring it up. If somebody brings it up themselves in like a modicum, tiny little way, then that can be your window in. It can be a route in, not to jump in, like you said. It's like you've got to pick your battles, and you've got to get in at the right level as well. Like, just explore it. If somebody says, there might be a hint of maybe you're at the dinner table, you're eating something, and somebody's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be eating as much of this. I love it, but I really shouldn't be eating it. And then you just ask, why shouldn't be eating that? Why?
Be curious.
Yeah, exactly. Approach it with curiosity and like asking,
not
like, why do you
in.
think? He's like, it's tempting to go, yeah, okay, good. Like, you shouldn't be eating that. It's like, no, that's definitely not a good way to approach it. You want to,
because then they'll get defensive, won't they?
Yeah, exactly. You're not. Again, you're just shaming someone into being a certain way.
Not the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just approaching it with curiosity and then just exploring it, and then helping that person arrive at the answer for themselves.
And that really reminds me of when I gave up alcohol and I started talking about it, and I think that's a really difficult one with people. I think alcohol intake, more than food, is a very difficult thing to talk about. And I actually find that people can be quite defensive about their alcohol intake. So what I was very careful to do with things like that is to talk about my journey and why I did it and what I'm benefiting, what I'm getting from it, and the benefits that I'm finding from it. And actually, it was a real divided camp. There'd be people that were like, tell me more. Why have you done this? And they'd start to open up to me and be like, I'm really worried about my drinking and I don't know how to stop. And it's such a habit forming thing with alcohol. And it's very dopamine based as well. And we could go into maybe the neuroscience of it as well. But there was really a sort of divided camp of people would suddenly start to talk to me about their worry about how much alcohol they were having. Because it was almost like I'd almost started the conversation by talking about mine, because I remember, like, when I was drinking, and I'd only drink once a week, but when I was drinking and kind of caning it, I'd never talk about it, and I'd be embarrassed about how much I was drinking. And then when I stopped, and a good while after I stopped, it was probably about 4 months, then I started to talk about it. And that then set up a conversation for other people to go, I'm really worried about my drinking. I feel like I binge drink and that it's not healthy for me, and I'm really worried. And can you give me any advice? And that's almost like when you can kind of step in, lean in, and start to talk about it. But then there was this other camp that were almost like, I don't want to talk about it, and we're not going to have this discussion. It was almost like point blank no. And I find it's a really different conversation to food. People are quite open to talking about how they've got to cut out certain foods and how they've got to not eat this, no doctor's advice on that. But alcohol is a very, very different kettle of fish, and people can get quite defensive about their alcohol intake. So as someone that hasn't drunk for a really long time, you cannot wade in there with your 2 pence. Do you know what I mean? It's like people have to come to you and want to ask you questions and be curious. And even when they do, I don't even give them the facts. I don't throw up all over them with all these crazy facts that I learned and how scary it is and all this. It's just, I think, you kind of have to drip feed this information that it's not brilliant. This is a dopaminergic effect. Like, people drink because it, and you're going to have to help me out here with the science, G, because I do forget it. And I know we've both read the same book, but it's that whole dopamine thing of, when you picture wanting a drink, it's like picturing a scene. And that's what the alcohol companies are very good at doing. They're selling you a lifestyle, and that's what people want. They want to sit down with their glass of wine in their garden, looking at do you know what I mean? It's like looking and enjoying the peace and quiet, or they're in a pub with their mates, and that's the goal that they want. And then when they get it, actually, that first pint of beer, that first glass of wine, that's what does it. But then once you have that, the alcohol sucks you in, and then you start to have more and more and more, and that's when the kind of that addictive element comes in. So it's a very difficult thing to get out of, because it is that dopamine effect of wanting, you know, and desiring something, and then when you've got it, it doesn't feel that great. So then you want more, and you keep going, and it's a bit like sugar, isn't it? You know, it's like I get like that with sugar. Right. It's like I want more sweets. But it's such an interesting conversation, and I tread very carefully when I do talk to people that do drink, because you don't want to come across as that nag, that person. You know, people get quite defensive, and or can, and I think it is just that you almost have to like you say, like lay the little baby steps out and just see if people want to talk about it, and then if they do. And I don't want to come across as patronizing either, because, you know, my journey is unique, and the reason I gave up alcohol was unique, and I'm still in two minds about whether I ever drink again. But at the moment, I don't feel I can, not because I'm an alcoholic or anything like that, but just because I don't feel in a place in my life where I'm ready to do that just yet. So it is it's a very, very unique journey for everyone. And how I got talking about this, I don't know, but I'm just like, you know, you cannot nag someone about something so powerful. I think that's my point. It has to come from them.
Yeah. And also, especially with alcohol as well, like somebody's given it up or doesn't drink. People who drink alcohol think you're coming from a holier than thou place, right? They think, oh, this person doesn't drink.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. Or they think that there's something wrong with you and you're faulty. It's like, oh, she's clearly an alcoholic. I've had that quite a few times. Yeah. It's like, what, are you an alcoholic or something? And it's like, no, I gave up.
Yeah, or like, because I'm brown, everybody's like, oh, is it religious? That's like the first assumption that ever gets thrown out.
Right.
Like, no, thank you for that racist comment. It's like, that just never happens. That's not what it is at all.
You've been asked that? You legit been asked that?
Yeah, plenty of times. It was basically when, especially at uni, because I just wasn't drinking at uni, and everybody's like, "Oh, this guy's not drinking alcohol." I'm like, "Yeah, don't care. I don't want it." You know, it's just not my thing. And then the amount of times I was asked is like, "Oh, so it's for religious reasons." I was like, "Why does it have to be religious reasons?" It was like, first of all, I'm not religious, but like, first the question is like, why does it have to be for religious reasons? The second point is like, I'm not religious. No, it's got nothing to do with that. But it was kind of hilarious. I mean, I say it tongue in cheek as well. I don't really care if somebody else is like, it's kind of done in this benign, ignorant way, not in this racist way. But but it's a stupid comment back. It's like it's like a standard comment, isn't it? It's like with me, it's like, oh, are you alcoholic? It's like, no. Yeah. Well, then what's wrong with you? And then there's a defensive kind of element of like, oh shit, is she now going to start preaching at me? And it's like, no, you don't know my backstory. You don't know why I decided to give up alcohol, and I'm not going to talk about my backstory. But know that there is one, and I find it really interesting because, it's such a powerful thing. It's such a big thing, especially in this country. So yeah. Yeah, so I guess you also realize the power of just not judging someone, just being curious. Is like, oh, why do you not drink?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, right. You actually do you actually want to know? It's like, cool. Yeah. It's like, why is it that you do something that you don't do something that millions and millions and millions of people do all the time? And so then that it gives you a different perspective. So you know that if somebody does a certain behavior, you're more inquisitive about it as opposed to judgmental about it, right? So you just like, okay, like, let me figure out why they're doing this based on the circumstances that they might find themselves in, and this given moment in their life. And then you realize you would never know. You will never know because you just don't know people to that extent. So you have to build context, right? You have to understand where it's coming from. Yeah. And what's hilarious about that was like, with my experience, no one ever cared to really find out why it was. It was just over time, it just became, here's a guy who remembers everything on a night out. We're not going to invite him out. That's what I ended up like essentially feeling like to me. It was like, again, not that I care about it. I just think it's kind of hilarious. You know, this is where the mind will take it, where other people's insecurities basically get projected onto you. And so, yeah, I just always thought that was just a hilarious thing. That's what it came across like to me, is basically over a period of time, maybe like, 6 or so months, it's like, he genuinely actually isn't going to drink with us. Right. And then it just stopped being a thing. It's like, I'm still going out. Yeah. It's like, I'm still going out. I'm still having a good time. You guys are hilarious when you drink. No one's a belligerent. Like, we had one friend who was a belligerent dickhead, but, starting fights when he was drunk. But other than that, there's no one else who was like that. Everybody was pretty hilarious to be around when they're drunk. So I was like, I don't really care. You guys do what you want to do. Right?
I don't care.
So, but
I
if you're
genuinely don't. Yeah,
exactly. So if it's like, if you're placing judgment on me for how you think I'm judging you, is like is completely wrong. Like, you're looking at this from a completely wrong perspective, and you've got no idea. And like, the line of inquisitiveness. Inquisition. Yeah. It just goes from. So it's because of religious reasons. It's like, it's a presumptive question. They think the answer to that's going to be yes, and when it's not, it's like, So when it's not, it's like, oh, okay, then I don't understand it, and then just doesn't go anywhere. But also at the same time,
then it's like that, isn't it?
Well, we're at university, we're 18, 19, 20, 21. Everybody's a bit fucking stupid when they're young, right? So no one cares. No one cares to ask the deeper questions. So that was it. That's like the kind of experience I have with that. And similar to you as well, which is, I don't really care for alcohol to have a drink. It's another never say never thing as well. I don't mind. I like.
Yeah, same. Never say never.
Occasionally is fine, but I just know that I've got, for me personally, is like, I know an excess amount of it whenever that's happened is like, I can count the total number of times on like one hand, even less than one hand, but whenever it is like, wow. I know that physically it just doesn't feel great. You're just basically making yourself ill. So I was like, I'm not down with that. It's like, forget it.
Yeah. I think, and as I'm about to go into this, I'm like, I'm so glad that I don't have to factor in this concept of giving up alcohol. It's like that's done. That's finished. That's through. And yeah, it is. It's so interesting that what you're saying, it's like, unless you're pigeonholed into, religious reasons, or you must be an alcoholic, like when it's neither, it's almost like you throw everything out of balance, and the matrix is just like, there's a glitch, and it's just like,
okay, you can just imagine like doing a poll, right? It's like, for all the like, here's reasons for why somebody gives up alcohol, like, what do you think they are? People say religious and alcoholic. It's like, that'll probably be like 95% of the answers, and then everybody like, I don't understand the other answers, like, they don't make any sense.
Who are these people that don't drink? What? And you know what, it's like, when I go out, it's like, and part of me is like, going to a pub, it's like, what do I do? But actually, I don't really care. If I'm with people and I'm having a conversation, or I'm with someone and it's a great conversation, I couldn't care less if I've got a water or a lime and soda or whatever. It's like, you drink, you do you, I'm going to do me. I just cannot bear the thought of waking up the next day and being like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? But also just like the effect it has on my body, and the fact that I'm such a lightweight that I'm a dickhead when I drink anyway. But
I want to meet this person.
I know, but I think I would come out of retirement for one night only, and anyone that wanted to see drunk Jude could, because I'm a proper twat.
Amazing.
And then I'll put her back to bed. But no, I'm just really annoying, and I will fight you, and you will.
You sound like Liam Neeson in Taken right now. I will fight you, and I will kill you.
No, it's more just like,
I can just imagine that you're going up to people, you're like, I don't know who you are, but I have a very particular set of skills.
No, I'm just
Skills that make
annoying.
me a nightmare for people like you.
I'll just like wrestle you to the ground. You'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then I just repeat myself over and over and over and over. And then I'm off. And then you'll lose me. And then I'll be back with something in my hand. And then I'm really annoying. So no.
Wow, something in your hand. I just imagined a fork, so you just come back and just start stabbing someone. The geezer you just wrestled with.
No, I don't get violent like that. I'm just annoying. I'm like a child, and then I need to eat, but then I don't stop eating. So yeah. And then the next day I don't remember anything. So
cool. I want to meet that Jude for about 20 minutes and then tell you to get the fuck out. I'm done with you.
Seriously, I think everyone's like, oh, we love Drunk Jude. She's so funny.
I'll do the fighting bit with you. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like I want to.
And then
Yeah.
you'd be like,
I want to see you like unreserved company. Yeah, that'd be amazing because it's like. All right. Cool. Good to know.
When one day when I feel like that time will come, it's not going to happen yet, but yeah, I'll let everyone know. I'll text everyone. I'm going to get drunk for one time only, and then that's it. There we go.
It's going to be a viral text message, that one.
Well, I'm a bit scared.
You know, like 8,000 people show up at this pub. You're like, you're going to want to see this. She's going to start fights with everyone.
No, don't let me be like that.
Yeah. That would be a disappointment. Everybody wants to
sleep in the corner.
Should make it a pay-per-view event.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah, but then everybody will want their money back if that's the case. Because if you're going to be starting fights, that should definitely be a pay-per-view event.
Drunk Jude.
Yeah.
When I was in Thailand, I used to do that all the time. There was a really, really strong, I think it's rum, called Sangsom. And I swear it's got some other stuff in it. But once I learnt Thai boxing, we'd go to like full moon parties or whatever, like New Year's parties, and it'd just be me wrestling the Thai kids to the floor and just running around, and then people would lose me, and then I'd be in the sea. And no, yeah, it's naive. So yeah, I don't. You know, it's probably a good thing I don't drink anymore. I'm a bit of an idiot.
Done with it. I'm cool. I'd rather wrestle sober.
Wrestle sober. Do you remember when we were at the Sunday wrestling at Ray's? Like, I swear people would turn up hungover, and then there'd be all of us, massively, and then there'd be all, and you know, they were really sweating after like we just run around a couple of times, and there'd be all of us that were quite on it, had a good night's sleep, like proper on it, like not hungover, and they'd just be like, oh, shit. And we were like ready. We were gunning for it, weren't we? So yeah.
Well, because there's you. Like, we finished a 2-hour session where everybody's dripping with sweat and dying, and then you're like, Sylvie, you want to do some more burpees? You're like, that guy doesn't he doesn't need any invitation to make you do it, because he'll just do it anyway.
I know. So and I remember like seeing people like over, like, and then they'd look at me like, are you kidding me? And I'd be like,
I was one of those people. Yeah, I was one of those people. I was looking at you, but but then I'll just take it. Just like quietly take it, because you can't say no. It's like, coach says so, fine.
Do it.
Yeah. Unless I like genuinely thought I was going to die or break something, you just have to do it. I just love the time when me and I just love the time me and Umar, like, we finished doing a group class. There were like 4 or 5 of us or something. And 5 of us doing a session with Sylvie. We just finished. And then Sylvie's like, I'm going to do some kettlebells. And you guys want to join? And I was like, all right, fine. He's asked. It's like one of those things is like, I just want to see how far, because I'm going to get pushed. It was just, it was just hilarious. So like me and Umar, like we just did kettlebell swings, and we thought, all right, we'll do 100 and we're out. We got to 300, and then me and Omar were looking at each other like, when's the I thought it was going to be for like 20 minutes. It's been an hour. It's like we trained for 3 hours and we just destroyed our hamstrings and hip hinge with some of this. But I was like, yeah, man, I can't say no. I'm just going to keep going until we don't go any longer. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. But
how did you feel the next day?
I think I don't know. I don't remember. Probably maybe because I just stopped functioning.
You can walk, fell out of bed.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It could have been a lot worse for sure. It could have been a lot worse, but yeah, it was brutal. But got to put yourself through that once in a while to know what you're made of.
Hell yeah, yeah. I do miss that. Have you been wrestling recently? Have you done any? Have you been back to the class or anything?
Not to a class. Me and my boy, son, we've been rolling at his place because he's got a bit of mat space,
fun.
which is good.
Cool, good.
Yeah. So yeah, it was wicked. It was sick. It was just we just got together. We got together this week, last week, and we're just finding our groove again, looking at what we're doing well, what's not going so well, just through rolling. It's just like, let's just go for it and let's just see how we do. And so this week was a lot better than last week as well. We were already kind of like finding a bit more of a groove with it. And then I filmed it as well, and that's been really helpful because I was looking at the videos over the last couple of days from the session that we did, and realizing like, why did I do that? Like what went through my mind to think that was a good option, or what was he doing which meant that I couldn't do the thing that I wanted to do? And then I was like, also in certain positions, because everything, like, it feels like it happens so fast and you don't always get a grip on what's actually happening. Then you see it and you're like, oh, it's because I was trying to go for the mover and I was just not close enough to him. I didn't close the space enough, and I left too much of a gap, and then he was able to exploit that gap and then control me. And then it's also like, oh, I fell the wrong side. I was supposed to maneuver him a certain way and I went the wrong direction. That's why I lost control. And then and then looking at because then also there was like moments where you would just like, it's kind of like you just go by an instinct as well when you're in the middle of it, and then it works out. You're like, oh, cool. That'll be good to see what I actually did there, because I don't really know why I thought that was a good idea. And so you go back and you see that. And so I've actually learned a lot just by watching those rolls again. And realizing, okay, this is where I'm making mistakes, and this is what I did well. But I did well there, but I didn't have, like, 2 steps back. That didn't have to be a thing for me to end up in this position where it's bad for me. So things like that. So it's been so that's really helpful. So I would actually, I really recommend that. Is like, as much as anybody can, just film yourself rolling, because you can go back and be like, ooh, that was not very clean. Oh, that didn't realize that happened. There was another time when we filmed, and Son got a triangle on me, but like it was a very, very dynamic maneuver. It was in the middle of a transition, and I just went, and I just didn't realize I ended up in there because it happened so quickly and so dynamically. And I was like, oh shit, I've just got. And then when I watched the video back, I was like, oh damn, that was so smooth. That was like, he noticed this happened. It almost felt like instinct. And I sent him the video, and then it was like, oh shit, I didn't even like realize how, like the flow of it is like, I knew that this is what I wanted to pull off, and I did it, but it's also what triggered that line of action as well, like, what triggered that action to take place. And that was really cool to see. So so doing that is
that's
really helpful.
interesting.
Just evaluating.
And also what must be interesting is, like, what were you thinking at the time that you were moving, and to see that play back? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what was going through your head as you were doing those particular moves, or you weren't quite happy? Did you feel that? Was there that interoception as you were experiencing it, and then playing back where you're like, oh yeah, I wasn't feeling it then, and I can see that in the way that I was rolling? Do you know what I mean? Was there that as well?
There's certain points where you watch back and you're like, oh, I definitely didn't look as proactive as I could have been. I definitely looked like I doubted making the movement. And exactly, it's like, definitely you see that, and then you see where you're more proactive, and then you see where you've taken a risk just to see what would come off. Like, that was another cool thing to see with one of the rolls. I was like, I just went for something which is kind of risky, but kept persevering to make it happen. So not end up taking the maneuver and thinking, oh, I'm in a bit of a tough spot to complete it and then just giving up. It was like, no, I'm going to keep persevering here, and then seeing that happen, and then what transpired after that was good. Yeah, exactly. So it's good. It's just like, okay, and then I remember what I was thinking in that moment as well. So it's like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, and then you can see that in the roles as well. So you can see when you're being more proactive versus being a bit passive, and so it's exactly. So it's really cool. And then another good thing is like just seeing where like you're not sure if the things you're doing are working the way you want them to, and then you can get like you start to, because of that, there's a little bit of doubt, and then you don't follow through with the move, and then you get owned instead of you owning the person. So it was cool to see that going back. I was like, no, actually I was doing okay here, and I should have just persevered with that, and I would have protected myself better. But I just kind of gave up a little bit because I thought, no, I don't have this sealed the way I need it to be. So things like that, and then you get a little bit of an insight into what's working and why it's working, and then what's not working, and then what you were thinking to make it not work as well.
That feedback's important. That visual feedback's really important. And it's something I'll start doing as I start prepping. Is, I mean, it's going to be very different. It's not complex like rolling, but just seeing form and technique and how it can be better, and just to make your body work and be more efficient, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you just pick up on that. Like, okay, next time, gonna do better with it.
Do that way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing because it also feels like play as well.
Yeah.
And,
it really does.
Yeah, it's just we were talking about it with Cindy in episode 60 about play fighting, and rough and tumble play and risky play for kids, and how it's imperative for their development basically. And so the misconception there is like it's uncontrolled aggression and it needs to be stamped out. As I know, actually, this is how kids are actually learning to socialize and get to grips with how their body works as well, along with that. And it's important for cognition and other things as well, just in terms of being able to handle yourself through life. And there's a place for it in adulthood as well. You have to be able to play. You have to have that sense of play with it. So with jits, like, it's, again, I talk about it often in terms of how it helps me just confront myself and figure out some things. And that's one of those things as well, where if I'm being, if I feel like, I'm like, oh, why did I do this? I should have done this. I should have done that. And I shouldn't be getting my ass kicked, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like, I believe that things should be a certain way. It takes the fun out of it. Whereas instead, because I realized I've been doing that, I was doing that even, I made it a lot more playful instead now. So instead it's like, again, it comes back to that curiosity as well, explorative curiosity, and just going like, oh, that didn't work out. How comes that didn't work out? And then I see it in the video, and then I'm like, okay, I can do that better. And then it just makes it a bit more exciting to be like, oh, there's headway here, there's improvement here, and approaching in that playful way, rather than kind of berating yourself for not being at the level you think you should be at. And then it's like, actually, nah, you just get better by spotting the mistakes and keep making those mistakes, or making higher level mistakes. Not make the same mistake, make higher level mistakes, because you correct that mistake and you move on, because it's always going to be about mistakes. And we talked about it before as well, how mistakes just basically highlight to the brain what needs to change, and then you go about changing it. Because if you're not aware of that mistake, as you would be in jiu-jitsu, because it's real-time punishment for the mistake that you make, right?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, cool. There's immediate feedback there, and then you can use that feedback and help you get better. And just approaching that in a playful way, rather than thinking you've fucked up multiple times, it makes such a difference to what you get out of it. And there's a hell of a lot more enjoyment from it.
Definitely. I think it really helps to get you out of your head as well. And while you were talking, I thought something, I got reminded of something that Sylvia, our old trainer, said to you. That, you can get quite bogged down with thinking about how your technique is and all that sort of stuff. And you just went, Gurinder, I need you to go hard or something like that.
Yeah.
What was it? And it was just like, just get out of your head. And I think sometimes it is just about getting out of your head and playing and not worrying about perfect technique or being perfect or how it's looking or how it is or what you're going to do or what you're achieving. It is just because that's when the flow state happens, when you start to play and fuck about. And you know, and I say this to my son all the time. It's like, don't worry about it not being perfect. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start, just play, just mess about. You know, it's like when I used to write music and do things like that, it would just be about starting. Or when I had to approach a really difficult piece or whatever it is that I was doing, it would just be about starting that process and playing about with it, because otherwise you're never going to start, are you? Oh, it's too complicated, I can't do it. So it's like with me and Jits, it's like I can get very bogged down and be like, I don't know, where's my hand got to be, and what does my hand go here, and then eventually you've just got to go fuck it and just do it, haven't you, and get out of your head. And I think that's what that is really good for, because when someone's coming at you, you've got to get out of your head, because you've just got to maneuver, haven't you? So I think it's really good, and not that whole I should do this, I should do that, I should be like that, I need to be. Yeah, we could all be better at everything, but just play, just move, just flow.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a good place to leave it. Just flow.
For sure. Just flow, people.
I love it. Cool. So after several weeks of having some guests on the trot, which has been, it's been amazing. It's been total education as well. Loved it.
Yeah.
So back to the dynamic duo.
Yeah.
I'm clearly Batman. You're Robin.
Why is it going to be Batman and Robin?
Why?
Tom and Jerry.
Tom. Oh man.
Sweetie Bird and Sylvester. Yeah,
but there's always somebody who's getting messed over in that, and like what, Wile E. Coyote and
He-Man and what's his cat called? Battle Cat.
Is that
Battle Cat?
I can't even remember.
Said in a Cockney accent. Battle Cat. I can't remember.
That's hilarious. No, that just means that one of us is getting shafted every time. It's like Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner.
I want to be Robin. Think of something better for next week.
How is that not good?
I don't want to be Robin. Because he's boring. Think of something better for next week.
Well, as long as I can still be Batman.
Cool.
Yeah, you could be the Joker. You'd be my arch nemesis. Well, this is again, see, somebody's getting screwed over. No, can't have that.
We'll discuss. Let's not discuss now. This is like, hurry up, come on.
There you go, snort. For our listeners, I always count whenever Jude snorts. I think that was the third one today, but there was two off air.
Two off air. That's the first one on air ever. That snort.
All right, amazing. Yeah, well, I hope everybody got something out of this episode as well. There's a few things that we were talking about, which which has just kind of evolved as well. Like Jude's training plan that she's got coming up, which is amazing. I think having like real time, like week on week updates about how it's going is going to be pretty sweet, and give a real good insight to everybody paying attention, because I think it's useful just to hear somebody's story when you're going through something like this, and just getting real about it, but also appreciating the journey for what it is. And then stuff about when people need to make a change, how to coax out that change, whether you should be asking somebody to change or whether it should come from themselves. And then a lot about alcohol, and then also about jiu-jitsu and how you can evaluate your own performance as well. It's like, this is not just a jiu-jitsu thing. It's like, how can you set up some like markers for yourself for improvement, and enjoy that process while you're at it, and play. It's all make it playful. Whatever it is, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a thing that you're doing, the more play you can introduce, the hell of a lot more you get out of it. And it's kind of like, as my friend's son said it, there's one sentence, it just encapsulates play so perfectly. He just didn't realize how perfect it was. Like I was like, I don't think you realize how perfect that sentence is that you said. He said, play is basically failing with a smile on your face.
Ah, son.
And I was like,
Nice.
I was like, bro, you have no idea how profound that actually is, because that encompasses it so well.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into like play and what we understand about the neurobiology of it now as well. But that's what it is, because you're learning to capitalize on any mistakes. You're learning to do better, because play helps you create the what I like to call rules of engagement in anything, whether it's social, whether it's and figuring out your body, whether you're doing something well or not. You're just basically failing with a smile on your face, and it gets you comfortable with that failure.
Really good.
Exactly. Philosopher's son over there. So that's a good way to end the podcast. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you took a lot away out of this one. And tell us what you think about it. Just get in touch with us over at Evolve Achieve Thrive on Instagram. And oh man, forgot what I was going to say there. Yeah, just leave us a rating and review as well. If you're enjoying the show, it helps us get the show out there as well. So please share it with other people. We love to get it out there and get a lot more other people listening, and hopefully provide them some insights and help them think about things in a certain way which they might not have considered before, which will improve their life. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time.